What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, welcome to another great episode of the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics for you tonight. We have my producer, Mark Lee, in the house, and we also have the beautiful Miss Ida B in the house. And so, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started because we have been running late. So, let's go ahead and bring everybody out on the screen. Hi, Ida. I miss you.
Hey, everybody. Honey, I'm over here in the Bed Bath & Beyond parking lot. They're going out of business, but they still like I'm not going out of business prices, so make it make sense.
Right, exactly. I thought you must say Bath and Body Works.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Miss Ida, are you buying up the store? Because, sometimes when they have those going out of business sales, then you get to buy up the entire store. So I want to know, are you buying up the Bath Body Works and all in that space? Because, they're going out of business. And I know that you got to get all those products and all those things. So I just want to know, are you buying up the store?
I know I'm not. I actually come over here. This is crazy to get their coffee and different stuff. But black folk, once we can't return stuff, we be dealing with ling. They be like, no return, ling. So I'm like, okay, Ida, do you want this? Do you want this? Then Goodwill said, come over here, boo. You know what we do. Come to Goodwill.
Because you already know, I don't shop at stores that I can't return stuff. Because I'm a very impulsive shopper. So I'll buy stuff, and if I don't want it, it has to go back or I'll exchange it. So I don't shop at those type of stores where I just cannot return anything.
No, hold on a second. I got to back up because I'm not thinking that Dr. Anthony is a thrift store kind of a lady. I have definitely seen that you can do some great shopping at the thrift stores and all in that spaces. I've even seen folks get suits at thrift stores and all in that space. But I'm thinking you're not into the thrift store mentality. So I've known some folks, including some folks that were part of the upper class that have bought their thrift items and thrift stores, but some people are like, no, I don't know who owned it. I don't know what they were doing when they had it, and I don't know how they might have abused it. So you're not really feeling thrift stores.
I mean, I donate a lot and I give a lot of clothes away or whatever, and I'll do that. But as far as me going to the thrift store just looking for stuff to wear, I don't really do that. I may go look for like an odd in or something like that or whatever, like something that's pertaining to like some crafts or things like that. But as far as for me thrifting for clothes, I don't thrift for clothes because I'm normally the one that's donating to the thrift stores so people can thrift. So I don't do that. What's going on, Ida?
Hello. I do estate sale, yard sales, Goodwill, thrift shop, and consignment. So when you come, if you ever, one day we all have to meet and come to my house. And my house was very eclectic. I have a combination. I have dead folks stuff, real folks stuff, other folks stuff. Because when you buy stuff, really, when you buy something from an estate sale, you don't know it. But it's a story I have gotten. So I actually like to collect art. And, when I go in now, you Google, open up your camera, find out who owns it. So my house looks like a Afro-eccentric art gallery.
I mean, I can see that with you, but I'm kind of
I don't wear for clothes.
I'm not like that. I'm kind of like an energy type person. So like I like to know who has owned, like previous items because I feel like entities and energy is attached to things, and I don't want to bring it into my house, and I don't want like negative energy or anything like that. So I'm kind of real particular about
stuff like you go to the store and people have tried on the clothes, their energy is transferring. That's one thing.
Typically, they don't shop at those stores.
Dr. Anthony, hold on a second. I gotta ask you a question because along those same lines, you can go buy a house and the person might have had some interesting negative energy. So when you get a house and if you get an apartment and all that space, do you do these kind of cleansing rituals? Because some people will say that those energies can linger for a while in the houses and all that space.
I always get one of my friends that's a minister or whomever to come over and pray in my house. Always. And I
Well,
told,
what about
even now I'm looking for a house, and I told the realtor I do not want a previously lived in house. I don't want, energy transfer. I don't want, I just don't want that because
but
I
what
believe in that.
But what about when you go to the hotel and timeshares and resort? Other
Girl,
people leave their energy. You know, they said
I'm
don't bring that
consistently
black light.
praying,
They said don't.
consistently praying.
Well, what are you thinking about our black folks' day? I've been telling all the white folks happy holiday. Huh? I've been telling them happy holiday. And while y'all working, I'm off, and stuff. So it's odd. I noticed that they don't have they still say, is this a holiday? You
It's a
know,
federal holiday. I mean, they know it's a federal holiday or whatever. You don't have to acknowledge it, but we would definitely acknowledge it because we're not showing up. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to work. We're going to respect the fact that it is Juneteenth and it is a holiday. And we're going to pay homage to the ancestors and to those who were left in bondage, who did not know that they were free until like 3 to 4 years later. So we are going to represent and pay homage to them, regardless if they do it or not, because at the end of the day, we cannot leave our history and our lineage up to them to be taught because it's not going to be taught because it's going to be, mayonnaise, watered down and all that other stuff. So it's up to us to teach our children and, our grandchildren and everybody else our history and continue with, our rituals of what we're doing.
now, were you surprised how quickly that became a federal law? Since we've been born and in this world, what holidays were not holidays? Not is not 9/11 isn't a holiday, is it? So is
No,
this one?
I wasn't really surprised how quickly it became a law because most of the black activists was putting pressure on that ass in terms of Congress and the senators, so they were trying to give us something because they don't want to really give us what we want in terms of police brutality and holding those white folks accountable. But my thing is when the Asians when they were out out there messing up the Asians, they quickly put those Asian laws into place, but they're
Mhm.
not trying to give it to the black folks. So
Okay.
they gave us the federal holiday of Juneteenth to try to pacify us, but you're not pacifying us because we're not going anywhere. We're still going to fight for those, for accountability, and we're still going to hold them accountable, and that's just the bottom line.
Well,
Period.
do you
Hey,
think
speaking of
this?
which, hold on, we have a sister that is saying hello, and I think she must be a Latin sister, so we'll say hello to
Hi,
Miss
that's my
Riviera and
sister.
everything. So she
Hi.
was saying hello, and all in that space she was
Yes, that's my
listening.
sister Janet. Hi.
Hey, Janet, is that you said Janet like Janet Jackson?
Janet. Yes, Janet.
Okay, I like that.
That's my sister from another mother.
So
That's
when
my
I
St. Croix family.
Your St. Croix family.
okay,
We have some other people that are watching as well. By the way, she says that she misses
I
you
miss
and
you
all in that
too.
space. And then the other thing is that we have a Sherry Davis that was also giving you some
Oh,
love
yes,
and
cousin.
all in
That's
that
cousin
space.
from
And we also
Louisiana.
heard
Cousin
from
from
Mr.
Louisiana.
Mark Lewis. Mark Lewis was giving you a
Yes.
thumbs up.
Yes, that's the family. That's hometown. That's family
okay,
from Louisiana.
all right. I see you. I see you, fam. Hey, fam. Hey. So when I think of Juneteenth, I think of slavery, but also it makes me think of reparation. Brings back to the conversation and the platform about reparation, and they have been having some dialogue about that in California
Mhm.
now. And what is your spin on it?
So I mean, the whole thing with the reparations is, they can never pay us enough money. Let's just start there.
They
Because
can pay me. They can pay me enough. They could. I
no,
got a
I'm just
check that they
saying,
can
just
write.
just in general, they can never pay
Yeah.
us enough money for the brutality and the things that we have endured and the things that our families and our ancestors, basically has endured. So I mean, they have to start somewhere. They have to bring something to the table. But the thing about it is, I heard on somebody's social media about, if they pay us reparations, that it's going to bank the country. Well, y'all wasn't saying that when y'all paid them Germans when Hitler was burning their asses up in the fire tank. Y'all wasn't saying that then. Y'all didn't say that when they bombed Hiroshima and y'all paid the Japanese. Y'all didn't say that it was going to bankrupt the company. So when it comes to black people, y'all don't want to pay the reparations, and y'all talking about it's going to bankrupt the country. The country is not going to ever bankrupt the country, but you're going to give us something that we're not going to ever stop, and we're going to demand reparations. And the foundational blacks are, demanding reparations, and we need to demand reparations.
I just be waiting for you to wear a dashiki at some point on this show.
Well,
I,
that's probably going to come and everything. I would not be surprised. There were people that were
I'm not
selling
going to wear that
the
shit.
chickies that the Juneteenth celebration because I actually went to two of them. The one that was here at the Hayti Heritage Center and definitely featured some food trucks and some performances, including steel drums and choirs. And guess what? We even had, which I did not realize that he had moved to North Carolina apparently to raise ostriches. But believe it or not, Terminator X, a Public Enemy, now lives in this area. So I'm trying to give
Get
him
out.
some of the
Y'all
shows.
gonna raise
He moved
ostrich
away.
in North Carolina?
He moved. He got out of the business. He's back in the business, but he got out of the business because he moved to Vance County, which is northern North Carolina,
That's
to start a ostrich farm and all in
Get
that space. Now,
out. Get
So
out.
Ida, we definitely have to go to your neck of the woods and go visit this ostrich farm.
Yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah.
messed up my train of thought, Mark. Well, when I think of reparation and I think of the minority community, I think who did reparation best, and I learned it from a co-worker, are the Indians. I'm still trying to understand. They are in the truest form of a protected class because I was watching something. Somebody had a child, had a baby with somebody on the reservation, and their laws, the U.S. don't bother them if you're
yeah,
part
they
of.
have their own treaties. They have their own laws,
Yeah.
and
They
I
do
know
have their
that.
own treaties and their own laws, but the thing about that is I don't support them. It's because for the simple reason is they don't support Black Native Americans. And when the government came in, so here it is historically. Prior to the Native Americans receiving the money, Black Indians and Black Native Americans was allowed to practice. Okay, both of my grandmothers are Native American. All right, the father side and the mother side and great grandmothers. But when the money came into play, they kicked the Black people out so they could not benefit from the money. So whatever happens to them, I don't support and I don't stand with them because you did what you did to gain the money, but then you kicked out the Black Native Americans, and they were not allowed to benefit from the government reparations and the casinos and things like that. So no, I don't support them.
Well said. Well, I see we have something to celebrate today. I heard Tyler Perry purchased BET and VH1. And where do you? I know we was having some discussion about that a couple of weeks ago, and it was talking about him and Byron Allen or
Mhm.
Byron. And it seemed like he just outright he won, and they decided not to partner together. So, what do you think about that?
I mean, I'm all for it, either or Byron Allen or Tyler Perry. I'm glad either one of them was able to secure BET because now it's Black owned again, and so now we can focus our shows on Black trauma, Black the Black community and things that we go through as a people. Byron Allen is a mogul within himself. He owns a lot of the weather channels, and a lot of people don't know this. He owns like a lot of the weather stations and things like that. And he also, won a lawsuit against, I want to say Comcast, if I'm not mistaken, because they were being discriminatory towards him and, with the internet and, all of that stuff. So either one of those is a big up for the Black community. And I'm glad Tyler Perry, actually, was able to secure, BET. And I saw on social media the other day, people was like, oh my God, I'm so sick of the Madea movies. Let me tell you why I would never be sick of the Madea movies, and I will always support the Madea movies. Tyler Perry gave Black people jobs. He gave Black actors opportunities. He put Black people on the map that would not have ever had an opportunity without, experiencing his Madea movies, without experiencing any of his movies. So I will always support his movies, everything that he stands for and everything that he does. Although he has the studio in Atlanta and the people's taxes have been extremely high and has excessively risen, Tyler Perry pays those taxes for those elderly people. So I will always support everything that he does. And that is a big up for, Black actors, the Black community, for Atlanta, for everybody that's in our space. So that is a major win for us.
Okay. Well, it looks like
Definitely
the Black
depends.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I'm just gonna say we have another person that was saying hello as well. Maybe it's part of the family, but Barry Legrenzi was also saying hello and all in that
Hi.
space. So we got people
He
just
will be
dropping
part of
by,
the family.
saying hello and all in
Mhm.
that kind of way. So we got people just
He
dropping
will
in.
be part of the family soon.
So Mark, what do you think about Tyler Perry buying BET? And I thought it was just BET, and he bought VH1. Are they from the same parent company?
So
Or
it's
both of them on
the parent company is Viacom.
Right.
Viacom owns all of them. So I wasn't sure if he purchased VH1 because VH1 has always been white, really white, and always white. And so it was never out in the media that he was purchasing VH1. So I'm not sure about that or whatever. But Viacom is the parent company, and BH BET was sold. What's the guy's name? Johnson. His name is Johnson. I can't recall his first name, but he was the first owner of BET. He sold the BET network. He was trying to actually do a black airline, and I don't think that was
no.
profitable or whatever. But I think somebody should try to open a black airline because we as a black people we're always getting discriminated against with these other people on airlines. So I mean, at some point, if somebody's out there that knows Tyler Perry or Byron Allen, we do need our own airline, and trust me, it will be supported.
Do we need just our own airlines though? Because I mean, like, hear what you're saying about Tyler Perry. Some of the pieces and stories that he have done have been a little bit too much on the stereotypical side and all in that kind of space. But I hear what you're saying of us supporting. But part of the issue is, do we have any distribution and enough distribution elements? So we definitely, I think we need our own airlines, our own buses, our own number of other things. But do we have enough in that space?
We should have enough in that space. But the thing about it is, his stuff. Tyler Perry addresses black trauma and black issues. So, to say it's enough, it's not enough because the trauma that our people, has, been subjected to is still happening. And black trauma, especially for black women, has not been addressed. And it's not being addressed because black women is the most hated among everybody. We're the most discriminated against among everybody. The things that black women get hated for, other women get praised for. And so, my thing is we always have to talk about what we're going through, what we're experiencing, and we don't have to wait for them to give us a seat at the table. He is creating the seat at the table, and he is putting us in spaces and putting our stories out there, and he needs to continue to put our stories out there so our stories are being told by our people. Because if you notice, anytime our stories are being told by everybody else, they're watering down our stories, they're changing our characters, they're putting people in that claim to not be black as a black character, and I don't think that's right. And so with Tyler Perry, I think we have a better opportunity to be represented in a way that is, actually true for black women, black people, and the black community.
Well, I hear what you're saying, because one of the biggest persons that was very much involved in racism and had some very stereotypical views actually used some of his connections in order to make some movies that were more in our times. And this was way back in history. But if you study Amos and Andy, some of the African Americans that played in those roles actually did some movies that were more religious oriented and more involved in our space and everything. I think one of them was named Spencer, and I can't think of Spencer's last name, but it was using the stereotypical message in order to then turn around and tell a message that would be a more positive kind of story. Maybe it was a religious narrative or another kind of narrative as well. But sometimes you got to dance to a piper that you don't like in order to get the stories that you want to tell. So,
well, we're not dancing anymore. Go ahead, Ida, before I jump back in.
Well, I hope he elevates it. I have actually met Tyler Perry in person when Mardell used to go on tour, and like I said, I think it's a thin line when we ride that stereotype. Now, when I first started doing comedy, everybody said, "Tell mama jokes. You can't go wrong, mama." Everybody has a Mardell. So is that safe? Does he stretch the truth? And does he always have a moral compass under it? Yes. I don't always feel comfortable with he playing into the black trauma, the bad wigs. Now, I love Tyler Perry. I think he's a genius in his own right. But I do want him to bring something different to that role as the owner. Because I think it doesn't always serve us well to feed into stereotype. It is our story to tell. We have the right to tell it. But and like I said, I'm gonna come back and give it to you. But happy Father's Day. What do you think about Father's Day? Father's Day, I was watching a commentary today, and they said black men are more active in their children's life than any other male role model, but yet we are depicted in the media as being an absentee father. So I'm gonna pass that over to you, Mark. I don't know whether you have children, but you're most definitely a brother in this space. So what
Right.
do
I
you think?
don't have any children of my own. I definitely have two nephews, and I definitely have the folks that I mentor, some that are definitely kids of friends of mine and all in that space. So I definitely do think that that stereotype is very true, that people want to paint the absentee father. And I'm not saying that there aren't absentee fathers, but there are a number of other fathers out there that are being very positive role models and all in that space. And definitely we got to highlight those and all in that kind of way. By the way, the Spencer I was trying to remember was Spencer Williams, and one of his films that he did was considered a quote unquote race film. It was called The Blood of Jesus, that he did back in 1941. But he was one of the actors from Amos and Andy and all in that space. So that's what I meant when I said that sometimes you would use that negative stereotype to then go to other stories, because I think he also did a film called Dirty Gertie from Harlem and a couple of other films that were in that space. But there's not enough of the positive role models that are shared. And I think that that is not accidental. As a matter of fact, one of the articles that I was going to bring up and share with y'all is that Dwayne Johnson, many people know him as The Rock, says Father's Day has a lot of pain since he never personally reconciled with his dad before his death and all in that space. So he was saying that his father, who was the pro wrestler Rocky Johnson, died at 75 from a heart attack back in January of 2020, and they never really reconciled.
Wow.
And I also heard other people that were saying something similar, because one person that I was talking to on social media was saying that they would ask anybody that had fathers still living to reach out to those fathers, give them a hug and all in that space on Father's Day, because you never know when that may be the last chance that you have that conversation and all in that space. So that was something that one of my social media friends was regretting as well. And ironically, Stefan is part of the European community, but he definitely also was missing his father, who he just recently lost as well, and is passing that on to his raising of his daughters and in that space. So I think that you can be a role model and not necessarily be a father role model. There are a
Well,
number of other figures out
let me
there.
jump in really quickly. So that goes back to the whole Tyler Perry thing, and Tyler Perry is not just one sided with Medea. I only pointed that out is because somebody posted it on social media as Medea. Medea was what was the character that gave him his start. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people like the Medea movie, and a lot of people like the Medea character. So I mean, I still think that our stories need to be told, and I still think that Black trauma needs to be put out there, because they don't see us as being sensitive. They don't see us as one to cry. Even with Black women, when we put Black women on a they put Black women on a pedestal, and they gave us Black girl magic. Like, we work like a dog, and we're not sensitive. We're not docile. We're not this. We're not that. We don't hurt. We don't cry. And we always have to be the strong person, and they never see us in that light. So it's important for us to be seen in that light. It's important for our fathers to be seen in that light. And Tyler Perry highlights, even with one of his movies, he highlighted the importance of fatherhood with Idris Elba when he played, in his movie. He had to go and, get his daughters and things like that. So yes, Black fathers are in their children's lives, but we have so many things that are working against Black fathers. We have the court system that are working. And we can talk about my brother, for example. Some petty stuff was done to my brother where he was taken away from his children. You know what I'm saying? And other Black men that, that are taken away from their children. But for the most part, Black men are very positive and very into, their children's lives. I'm lucky to have two step parents, a stepfather and a stepmother or whatever, who are very active in my life. And, my parents are very active in my life. The aunts were very active, the cousins, all of that are very active. And all of that plays a role into, how you build your community and how you build your village and, things like that. But all of that has to be told. And we have to tell our own stories. And we have to put that stuff out there because, you let media tell it. Our fathers are deadbeat, they're drunks, they're crackheads, they're this and they're that. And that's not necessarily the case. We have Black men who are very active in their children's lives. And we have Black men who want to be in their children's lives, but the Black women, and we need to address that. Black women are not allowing their children to spend time with their fathers because of, hate and, I want to have a relationship with that man and he doesn't want me. So I'm going to take it out on the child and, things like that or whatever. So, we have to tell our stories. And, by Tyler Perry securing BET, we can tell our stories. We can put our own narratives out there. We can put our own things out there. I mean, because let's take it for example. Let's use you. When you were overseas and you were in those Asian countries and things like that or whatever, and they were trying to rub your skin and rub your blackness off. That's because they were taught that we were negative people. They were taught that we were criminals. They were taught that we were not, we were subpar, that we were subhuman. So we have to take those stories and take those narratives, and we have to change those narratives, and we have to put what we want out there. Because if we allow other people to continue to, dictate our narratives and put what they want out there, people are always going to see us in a negative light. Even people who are coming here as Black people from other countries, from different parts of Africa, from different parts of the world, they do not like us because of the narratives and the stories that have been told about us. And you know nothing about us. And I've been seeing on social media where, that has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with you. But it has everything to do with you, because if it wasn't for Black people and the struggle that Black people went, the foundational Black people that we went through, you wouldn't be able to come over here and say that it has nothing to do with you.
Hey, along those same lines, I'm just wondering, and this is for both of you. I've mentioned Terminator X and everything last year, I believe it was. So this year is the 51st anniversary of hip hop, and there are some people that would say that they didn't think hip hop would last as long as it did, and it is definitely a part of the narrative. And there are some people that would say that it is still very, sexist in some of its views and all in that kind of space. So, as two strong Black women, what is your thoughts about the state of hip hop, and particularly the state of hip hop as it relates to its portrayal of women? I know that Terminator X and I think that Sunshine has got ties to this area, and definitely Ninth Wonder and others. There is conversations about even doing a hip hop conference and hip hop conversations. But as two powerful Black women, what is your thoughts about the nature of hip hop and its portrayal of women?
Well, I mean, all music has, negative portrayals of, different people. I'm going to use the Dixie Chicks, for example, since, we talking about race and things like that or whatever. So the Dixie Chicks has a song called Kill Bill, Die Bill. You know what I'm saying? And in their song, it's talking about how they're going to kill Bill. This other young lady that I can't recall her name, she's talking about how she's going to kill her boyfriend. But the thing about it is they always highlight everything that Black people say, they want to portray, Black women in a negative light, and some of them do. But it's like the old people say, it's not what you what they call you, is what you respond to. Everything is not for everybody, and maybe that's what their experience was, because all Black women are not portrayed in that light. But like I said, when you allow mainstream media to tell our stories, they're always going to put the negative out there. But they're not saying anything about the Dixie Chicks, because they damn sure have a story about a song about kill Bill, and I'm going to kill my husband, and I'm going to do this, and they're talking negative about white men and things like that or whatever. A young white girl, she's doing basically the same thing, but you don't hear those stories in the media. So again, everything it goes back to who's telling the story. You know what I'm saying? And who's portraying and who's putting things out there. I'm not saying that all rappers are, saying whatever. And you do have a lot of them that are out there, saying whatever. Maybe that's, like I said, maybe that's their experience. Maybe that's their world. But it's not all of our experiences, and it's not all of our worlds. You know what I'm saying? So what they're rapping about is things that happened to them, things that they went through, things that they saw coming up. Because I can't necessarily say that my upbringing was just like somebody who lived in New York, because it's two totally different type of upbringings. I grew up in rural Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? So how can I say, well, this person in New York shouldn't be saying this because, I never experienced that. That wasn't my story. So they're telling their story. They're telling their truth, and who's to say that, they can't tell their stories and their truth. I can't take that away from them, just like they can't take mine away from me. All my books, my children's books, are based on Louisiana Creole culture. So you can't take that away from me. You know what I'm saying? So I can't take that away from them. So hip hop is, a part of their legacy, and a part of, what they experienced, and a part of what, they grew up in. So, hey, hell to hip hop.
What is your thoughts around that, Ida?
Well, when I think of hip hop, music is one of the greatest gifts that the Black community have given the world globally. I went to Vegas last week, and I went a couple of years ago.
Why you ain't take me out? Why you ain't take me out?
Next time. But you know what? When they play Grandmaster P or Diddy or whatever, everybody, music is that one thing that they love about the Black community. They love hip hop. They love because when we think of the word hip hop, if you was an old music head, hip hop means something different to the younger generation than it means to me. You know, when I think of, because think about hip hop was really at a grassroots level when it first came out, and because when you think of, and it almost like when Ray Charles took Christian music and brought it from to the secular, like Aretha Franklin. So when you think about the father of hip hop, you know, like they call Aretha Franklin the Queen of Soul, and we give people title. When you think about the father of hip hop or the Queen of hip hop, you know, when I think of hip hop, the first place I think of is New York City.
Yeah.
It's sort of given, and the oldest group I think of Grandmaster and all of that, and so hip hop to a Black person in the 80s was the beginning of rap and breakdancing, and then it migrated to other things. But hip hop actually bridged the younger generation, because you could play through old school, what we call hip hop now, old school, and I don't care where you are, people are going to migrate. What I think they was done a disservice, similar to the other Black music genre. They didn't own their masters. They were robbed. People are sampling their music. You remember a couple of years ago when Beyonce sampled Frankie Beverly music, and the younger generation thought that was her song. And they were like, no, and just Robin Thicke got sued recently for sampling Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, but is it part of the problem that some of the elements of hip hop are painted in a negative light? Because hip hop is more than one form of entertainment, is a multitude. That's why they call it the 5 elements of hip hop, which include MCing, DJing, the breakdancing, graffiti, and beatboxing. And some people will automatically look at the graffiti and see that it's just people putting signs up. I know that there were some people that were concerned here in Durham because they were seeing the 300 symbol, and apparently the 300 symbol has some possible gang termination, but it could have been folks that misinterpreted another number. So I don't know whether that was what was actually happening or not happening, but some people saw that symbol and were thinking that that is what was taking place. So what is your thoughts about?
But I mean, you know, it like you said, it goes back to, you know, everybody's own interpretation. I mean, even let's talk about NWA. When they came out with their rap, you know, fuck the police. That was their lived experience. You know what I'm saying? So how can you sit there, not you, Mark, but how can somebody sit there and talk about, you know, somebody's lived experience? That's their lived experience or whatever, you know, and they want to take a person's lived experience and diminish it and say, oh, you know, it wasn't that serious. Just like, you know, when they say that we should get over slavery, but yet and still every day that we walk out into the community, we're being discriminated against, we're being talked about, we're being shut down in the street, because that is our lived experience. So you cannot sit and say that, you know, the people can't rap about their lived experience. That's what they're going through. That's what they're experiencing. And like Ida said, you know, hip hop to us is a different tool than it is to, you know, the younger people, the younger generation, because, you know, we were born in the 70s, we grew up through the 80s and 90s, so we had all these different types of genres of music that we experienced and that we're continuing to experience, and, you know, it means something different to us than it does to the younger people. And so, you know, and it goes back to exposure, and like I said, it is up to us to expose our children and, you know, our community to things that we want them to know, because when we leave our stories to be told by somebody else, they're watered down, and, you know, the actual truth is not being told. Just like, you know, for example, in history books in Texas, a parent, you know, was upset in arms because they said that Black people came over here as indentured servitude, where we had to work to, you know, pay for our freedom, and that was a lie. So they're changing the history. So we have to be, you know, diligent, and, you know, to change and, you know, teach our children about our history and teach our children about our ancestors as being enslaved Africans who came here from the continent of Africa and, you know, all those Caribbean countries and, you know, other places. So yes, those are their lived experience. Ice Cube, you know, he lived that. That the police were messing with them. So that was his lived experience. And through his self-expression, that's what they came up with. Fuck the police. I'm
No,
sorry.
but,
I
no,
got two little twins
no,
in
you
the
got little
background.
ones with you and everything. But y'all, I gotta tease you because you're talking about this young age and that y'all have hit those ages around 50s and being born in the 70s. I was actually born in the 60s, and some of the hip hop heads that started this movement back 51 were also in my age range, so they were in their 60s and in some cases might be in their 70s now. So people think of this as being a young man's sport, but it is not always a young man's sport.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, one of the authors that was being part of the book club, and I know that both of y'all will know this book that I'm getting ready to bring up, but she was seen as an activist and wrote a powerful novel. But we have a book thing that goes on in Hayti, that one of the books that they've been reading has been The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier and all of that
Mhm.
space. So it's definitely an activist space and all of that. So hip hop has definitely been involved in that activism space also. So
Yes, that's
wondering your
exactly.
thoughts about that, because definitely that has been part of the narrative, is how activism has been part of the musical narrative within hip hop.
Well, hip hop was birthed out of the projects. It was a need for us to have a lane in music to express ourselves, and you know, because you had R&B, and when you thought of the everyday man, the closest person that could reach hip hop back during that was Marvin Gaye when he started thinking about war, and they began to realize music had power to tell a story. And because, well, like you said, when you think of hip hop has various heads that, you know, some people think of breakdancing. And so hip hop is tied to activism. When you think of, because, you know, black people, Public Enemy, and they was tied to that. They won't call rapper, they was telling a very poetic story. And then we began to use it in the soundtracks. And white people, when they say, oh my God, this is a movement, these people do. And the closest thing they could come to hip hop was pop. They said, let us make our own. They're not going to let us. So, and black people, we are territorial over certain things. So, white people made hip hop. We had hip hop, and they had pop culture, you know. And so, I think a lot of things are, we are the grassroots for a lot of things. But
No.
our story is sold, but then we tell our story, but we let them buy it. And
So
then they
let's
spin
let
it off to something
Yeah,
else.
so let me interject with you and piggyback off of telling the stories. So back in the day, before all of this hip hop genre came out, when we were the disc jockeys, the DJs, and things like that, we had the children's march. So like you said, Ida, we use music and we use the DJs to communicate certain things to our people through the radio. And with the children's march, because the children's march was the actual march that changed things in the rural South. And so a lot of people don't understand how the children played a major factor. So the children were being arrested and they continued to arrest the children, and how they got the word out to the children about, where they were going to meet, where they were going to march, and where they were going to be arrested at and things like that or whatever, was through the disc jockeys, through the DJs. And, we had code words and we had code language and things like that or whatever that we used to say on the air to,
Yeah.
to the children and to the people, because the parents couldn't go. And a lot of people didn't understand that. The parents couldn't go to the marches because they were losing their jobs, because the white people were being petty and they were firing the parents. So the children took it upon themselves and they went and they marched. They got arrested. And so the Children's March, if you've never heard of the Children's March, you guys need to look it up and look up the history of the Children's March and see how instrumental the DJs and the records were and the music were back in the day, and how it was, the stories were told and how messages were put out there through the DJs and through the music, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Very
You know,
powerful. Mm-hmm.
yeah, extremely powerful. And a lot of people don't know that, and that's one of the reasons why we need to teach our children, and we have to tell our stories. We have to put our own stories out there. We cannot leave it up to them, because for example, when Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith came out with the Cleopatra, these white folks are up in arms saying that she's not black, she's on the continent of Africa. What they fail to realize is the people that's in Morocco and things like that, they migrated there. They overtook, the black people who lived there before. Y'all wasn't there. Y'all are not the original people. And when Kevin Hart went over there and he said that they wasn't original people, they were, like boycotting his show and things like that or whatever. But my thing is, everything is not for everybody. So, I tell people all the time, my show is not for the other folks. So don't come on my show talking about you gonna boycott because I don't give a damn because it's not for you anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping it real. I'm always talking about black issues, black people. Girl, question pearls, question pearls. Because you already know. You already know. I'm 100% blackity black, 100% sister, and that's where it's gonna remain, and that's where I'm always gonna remain. You know, do I have a problem with working with people? No, I don't have a problem with working with people. But what I am going to do, I'm going to tell our truth, and I'm going to tell our stories, whether you like it or not. You know what I'm saying? Because your feelings don't matter to me. Because when you were out there doing what you were doing, our feelings didn't matter to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I hear you. Mark, come back and help me. Mark, come and help me. Mark, where are you? Mark, thank you, Mark. Oh my God, Mark, you can't keep vanishing. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Do I have to help you?
Oh
Because
my
I
God.
did want to mention that a couple other people did say hello. So Christopher Guy was back in your things that you were saying. He said yes, indeed, and all in that space. And we've also heard from some other ones that got some Louisiana type names. So Janiqua Cease Trunk, I think I pronounced
That's
that
my big
correctly.
sister.
And she
Thank
was
you,
saying
sister, for
hello and
tuning
giving you
in.
love, as did David John Kennedy. So David John Kennedy was giving you some love as well. So folks are definitely
Thank you.
paying attention to the all around show after you had gone back home and told them all about this powerful conversation that you have on a regular basis. I guess I just got to do the same thing and tell everybody there in Vance County about what's going on so you can get some of that
Yeah.
love and
So,
support as well.
yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, it's about telling our truth. Hey, sister, you got to come on the show and promote your business. My sister's a hairstylist. She does celebrity hair, and she's the one that I was talking to in the video that I needed my new wig. So I'm gonna have to have
Yeah,
a conversation
I
with
need a
her
new. I need one
before
too.
I leave because I need her to design me a wig and things like that. So if you guys are
Bring one back.
into someone who needs, yes,
Yeah,
if you
bring me
guys
one
need
back.
someone. Her studio is her hair salon, and I will make sure I post it on social media so you guys can either reach out to her or Deja. Both of them, they do hair, they do makeup, and when I tell you they're the bomb.com, they're the bomb.com, and I'm just not saying that because they're my little sisters, and they'll tell you I will fly home in a minute, and they will do my hair. I will fly to Louisiana and let them do my hair. So make sure you guys check them out. And Ida, I will make sure I get you the information to her so you can communicate with her with, getting a wig and things like that or whatever. But,
And
my
one of the
thing
other
is,
people that I was
huh?
going to say is Cynthia Harrison was also giving you some love as
Yes,
well.
that's
So
my
you
mom's
got
first
other family.
cousin.
So there goes my
Thank you,
they said,
cousin.
hey, cuz.
Hi. Graham, Cynthia's on here. My mom talking about who? Cynthia Graham. She in the background talking about who? That's my mom's first cousin. But I mean, it's just, it's real important for us to, like just disseminate the information. You may not like my delivery, you may not like my approach, because I'm always, giving Ida a heart attack, and that's my girl. She, she's my sister. She's clutching the pearls all the time. And she knows I love her to death. But we don't see eye to eye all the time. But we, outside of the show, we are friends, and we do have conversations and things like that or whatever. And we discuss stuff. We might not agree all the time, but we do discuss stuff. And she knows I'm a forever be me. And when I'm standing on my word, I stand on my word. And you can't change my thought processes. You can't do any of that. But like I said, you may not like my delivery, you may not like my approach, you may not like any of that stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to speak my truth, and I'm going to speak for people who don't have a voice and who cannot speak their truth. So
Speaking of that,
yes,
Go ahead.
yes.
one of the other questions I was going to ask is there is a writer's strike going on. Do you think that that's going to impact our community, or will it not impact our community? Because there is
Oh,
also
what?
a major writer's strike that is taking place as well. And some people are concerned about the nature of the technology that exists, ChatGPT and other things that might be impacting the writer. So is that just a white man's argument, or is it an argument that we need to be concerned about as well? I did see that there are
Um,
some new shows that are out there. I actually watched one. Don't shoot me, Ida, but I actually stumbled across one called The Big D. At first, I thought it was going to be about Dallas, but it is about divorce and all of that space. It was bit on one network, and then the other network brought it, and it is now running, I think, on Paramount or one of those kind of networks. But it is about divorced couples, including some that are, I think there's at least two or three people in our community. I think there might be one that is interracial and a number of other relationships. And there is some cross dating going on, including some cross cultural dating going on, because part of the nature of this show is that the couples have agreed that they are going their separate ways, but that they may wind up either back together or they may wind up with brand new partners, but only one partner will be crowned the partner at the end, that is being produced by some of the same folks that I think do some of those other shows, because I know the hosts are from the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, one of those two shows, and all in that space. But I was just wondering, what is y'all's thoughts about these, one, the writer strike, and two, these reality shows and our role within those reality shows, because we have won some and we have definitely been involved in some of those.
Well, the thing about it is, I don't think it's going to directly affect us anyway, because it's not enough of us in those spaces to, you know, make a major impact or whatever. And as far as the, you know, like the AI is concerned, AI can't write, you know, Black vernacular. So we'll never be without a job. You know what I'm saying? And if they want to reach, you know, the Black community, they're going to have to hire Black writers to get that AAV out there and things like that or whatever. So I don't think it would directly affect us. You know, typically when they go on strike because it's directly affecting them, because typically they don't give a damn about how it affects us. It only matters when it affects them. So now that something is affecting them, it's a problem.
Well, when I think of that, the first person come to my mind is Shonda Rhimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember she was a nobody, and she began to hit those number ones. And then the next thing come to my mind is which network will be most impacted. Right now, everybody is streaming, and Netflix is not to be played. Hulu is coming in strong. And when you think of the Disney Channel, so you think about the writer that has the most impact on what, depending on what network. Now, when I think Black writers are the most slept on people in the industry up there. And so a lot of times when, like I said, the first person come to my mind is Shonda Rhimes and Augusta Wilson. You know, you think of who has a footprint and how can we leverage this? You know, how can, you know, when you think of Black HBC schools that have English major, what can we do to, you think about the girl, it's Insecurity.
Issa Rae.
Yeah, and you think about these people as writers, and they I think when I stopped doing comedy, people start asking, will you write comedy for me? So I think people need to leverage that. People need to, you know, and are they being underpaid, underscored? I don't probably know the tomatoes to that. When I think about Shonda Rhimes, if you took Black people out of most industry, including the entertainment, you will see a lack of, like Dr. A said, diversity. You think of Blackish, and you know, when you watch these shows and they run the footage, you do look at the producer, you do look who's writing these shows. And some of the, when I think of Bridgerton, you think of some of them, I think it would be a major impact, actually, if it was certain network, like maybe HBO. See, I don't watch TV like that, but I know these writers make these people stars. And if they band together, you know, yeah, so. And so.
But again, you know, you're right. But again, you know, it's not going to affect the Black community, because Shonda Rhimes is, you know, a beast within herself. And, you know, she, you know, her writing is, you know, is exemplar. And, you know, she has always, you know, every show that she has put out has always, you know, excelled and exceeded the expectation. So again, I don't think it's, you know, the writer's strike is going to.
You know, speaking of which, I got a question for y'all about our celebrities and all that space. And one is not one of our celebrities that I've got to ask you about, but since these celebrities get all these wonderful things and everything, I just want to know, because I do know what a bidet is and everything, and apparently there is a company that is selling various fixtures and fittings, including a bidet that was used in a house rented by Jay-Z and Beyonce. So I just wondered, are y'all going to be rushing out to get the bidet that was apparently being used by Beyonce and for Jay-Z? Because apparently there are some folks that are going to be rushing out there to get this piece of bathroom equipment, because that is what it is, in all honesty, and all in that space. But are you going to rush out to, you know, it's going to get
as much
sold
as I love Beyonce, my answer is a hard no. And I'm a diehard Beyonce fan. My answer is a hard no. I'm gonna stick to the Cottonelle booty wipes. I'm good.
Yeah, that is gross, Mark. That is
right.
Gross.
I'm definitely not. That's
know,
a hard no.
That when somebody say you full of it, no, I got Jay-Z thing. I'm not full of anything. You know, I guess you be back there singing maybe the spirit of Jay-Z, like Dr. A said, energy. The energy of Jay-Z will come through there. But you know, I think people buy anything. But when you think of people buying, coming back to the conversation, dead people stuff, celebrity stuff, and you know,
and there's a popular rapper that just recently apparently passed away, and I'm sure that people are going to be reaching out. And this is some sad news, but apparently Milton Powell, a Houston rapper who performed
Yeah.
under the name Big Pokey, died after performing a show in Texas over the weekend. So I'm sure some people will be trying to buy some material that was connected to him, and I don't know
I'm
the
sure, but
nature of
this
what
is the
happened with
second
his
one.
death.
This is the second rapper that has, passed away on stage like that. Big Mo did the same thing or whatever. And, my thing is, when you're overweight, you have to, take your health into consideration. He passed and he died the same way. And he was trying to lose weight and, things like that or whatever. But I think, the heat and heat exhaustion just got the best. But, if I don't already have his CD, I'm not going to get it.
But it's odd how we try to give people flowers after they're dead. I think one of the greatest phenomena I seen recently, a couple of years ago, Nipsey Russell.
Nipsey
How Hustle, I'm sorry, you see, and how people is blindness. And so we need to support people while they're alive. We need to blow them up while we're alive. We need to, in the comedy era, DC Young baby mother died from some plastic surgery, and now people buying all her makeup. Now, I hadn't heard of the girl until she passed away.
Still not buying makeup.
That's the other question I was going to get to, and that's the last one, and I'm getting off of our culture and everything. But it is a question that is raised in our culture and everything. But how important, as one that has not been in that marriage lane, I think you have. I don't know. I don't think Dr. Anthony has, but how important is it for you to maintain the traditions within that? Because apparently Garth Brooks, a well-known country singer, declined his wife Trisha Yearwood's offer to officially take his last name, and what he said was tradition doesn't count here. So apparently he is not all that important about the traditional aspect and everything. But I just wonder, I knew some people that will do the hyphenated names. I know some people that will do the traditional way, and I know some folks that are very comfortable with their name and don't ever want to change their name, including some men that will take the woman's name and all in that space. But how much of that is an issue in your own lives, and should it be an issue in everything? And how willing to be traditional are you going to be?
I mean, I would actually take my husband's last name or whatever, but I will also keep my name. I know it sounds confusing. I would take my husband's last name, but as far as what my brand and everything, I would keep my name, Dr. Anthony, because that's what people know me as. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm working, when I'm doing whatever, it will always be Dr. Anthony. But in the tradition, it would definitely be his name.
Well, never been married, Mark. But I come from I think a lot of time you get into, like you said, the legality of keeping a person name because you're a brand. But I think when you get into that name is so rich, it has history. Sometimes people don't want to give. It's odd when I see you got somebody in the first grade with 45 characters in the name. They can't get to recess because their names is so long. And I think that was part of the feminine movement, to be quite honest, when we start hyphenating. And I was like, why put the child through all of that? But I think name, to me, I always say names are powerful. Culturally, when we look at taking someone's name, even from a religious aspect, it has a lot of power to. And back in the day, it was a sign of respect. That was calling, that cleaving to one by you surrendering your name. Taking, and I think, like you said, but we live in a generation where people don't even marry anymore. It doesn't mean anything. But I think that early in the game, people don't want to give up people gives up their name in their 20s and 30s. But I think once you have established yourself, but I have seen some of my family members that it was a full-blown argument if that person didn't surrender that name, not just in name, but on paper, legally change your name. And then think about when people get married and get a divorce, the wife said, I'm keeping the name because I don't want to confuse my children. So
that was probably the thing with Trisha Yearwood, because Trisha Yearwood is definitely a country star of her own right. Garth Brooks is a major country star, but I'm sure that she probably was wondering some of that branding conversation, because most people that are in that space probably know her under that name, and I don't know that they're going to migrate to Trisha Brooks if they know her as the singer Trisha Yearwood and all in that space. I know we're winding down, but I was going to come back to Juneteenth, because apparently Beyonce was once again in the news again because she was showcasing looks by Black fashion designers in honor of Juneteenth. So the 41-year-old singer chose several outfits by Black designers for a concert on Sunday in Amsterdam. So definitely, if you go to Instagram, you can find some pictures of her in these different outfits that were designed by a number of leading designers from our community, including Febin, Maximilian Davis for Ferragamo, Oliver Roostek for Bauman, Ibrahim Kamar for Off-White, and Laquan Smith, according to the British Vogue, were some of the names that were out there in that space. So what are our thoughts about people like Beyonce using this as an opportunity to educate people about Juneteenth, but also educate them about some of our great designers?
I mean, I'm a Beyonce fan, so she can never do no wrong to me. So, but I always support her, and I love how she subtly, do it in a subtle way that she puts Black people on the map, and certain things. And even when she did, Beychella, Coachella, Beychella, and she sang, "Lift Every Voice and Sing." She put that song on the map because a lot of people never even heard of, the Black national anthem. Lift Every Voice and Sing outside of the Black community. So, she put that song on the map. And so I like how she integrates, our Black culture and her Black experience into, her secular music and, into her sets and into, everything that she does. So she gets, a big ups for me.
Well, I like Beyonce, like you said. I think her team is a marketing genius. I think she's in that 1% that whatever she touched, it will turn to gold. It will go platinum because she understands the narrative. I hate the expression of staying woke, but she plays the game well of being the brother's keeper, and she understands too much is given, much is required. She understands that she literally falls into a unique thing. She's now really considered a living legend, a true icon of their. Most people become icons later in life, but she understands the commitment that she has to the Black community, and she represents being a Black woman well when she addresses color, and she addresses things in a very subtle way, not too bodacious.
She definitely does that.
And so I think as other Black leaders, that they also have an obligation. We have to support our own FUBU, for us, by us. That was just phenomenal when it came out, and he said he wanted something for us. And I think sometimes as we move along and coming closing it with Tyler Perry, he understands he's our FUBU. He's doing something for us. And I think Black people, we need to get out and support any narrative. And he does, but I love my dear. But like I said, I think the Juneteenth reparation, if we don't get it our way, we need to create our own reparation through our spending of money. Support each other, right?
No, we definitely got to support each other. And one of the things that people were coming by, actually just had two people that came by the center today, because one of the things is that unfortunately some of the things that we would like to support, there are roadblocks thrown in the way, because there's actually a group of performers that were going to be coming to this area, but they were actually coming, I think, through Canada, and they were from the I want to say the Belizean culture or something along those lines, but they were Garifania performers, and they were going to perform in that kind of space. But unfortunately, they ran into visa problems, and those visa problems can be very real. So that is the reason that this particular event that was going on today was actually canceled, because they ran into those visa problems coming from one country to another. And I think that they ran into them actually up in the north as they were trying to get here, and all in that space. So we also need to find ways to support people, but also realize that there can be roadblocks thrown in that process as well. And any times that we can find ways to alleviate some of those roadblocks, and hopefully they will get a chance to perform at a later date. But that was something that was announced to us, I think, either yesterday or on Saturday, that they would not be coming because it was a concert that was being done through our HBCU and others. And unfortunately, that whole notion of the rules that exist for performers got in the way, and I've seen that happen on other cases as well.
So, the clock on the wall says that's all. And Ida, do you have any upcoming shows that you can tell us about?
Well, I'm gonna start doing comedy again, because people want Sister Ida to come back, me and my Anon. So I'm going to start performing again. Why not? Give the people what they want, right?
Yes.
So when is the performance going to be in Durham? When are you coming to Durham to perform at the Hayes Center or any of the other venues that we have access to?
You extended me an invite. Me and Sister Ida, me and the nun gonna come on down there. Sister Ida
Well,
gonna
I
make her
would
way on
definitely
down.
support. You have to let me know when when it's happening. I'll definitely support.
Okay.
And, we're gonna talk about it on the show so we can get you some publicity out there, some support, and make sure you guys tune in, click like and share so we can get those YouTube views up, and make sure you guys support Sister Ida and support her, her ministry out of elbullock.com. And continue to listen to us, the Three Musketeers, Mark, myself, and Ida, as we discuss all these worldly topics. And I'm making Ida clench her pearls and almost sending her into cardiac arrest, with my responses and things like that. But so I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another wonderful show, and we'll see you next Monday at the same time, same place. Deuces, my loves. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.